Welcome to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. I'm your host, Bree Brown, a business mindset coach, entrepreneur, and a top competitor in a male-dominated industry. I'm a native Texan, the youngest of all brothers, and a lettuce-hating, wine-loving, curses like a sailor, recovering perfectionist. I've spent over a decade building my commission-based career, and my life's purpose is helping other women achieve the same multi-six-figure success I achieved before I was 25. I have a passion for helping women with mindset, money, and manifestation skills to help every young woman realize her full potential. If you're looking for vulnerable conversations, professional development, inspiration, or even a kick in the ass to get you motivated, you have come to the right place. Thanks for checking out the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Now let's jump right in to today's topic. Hello, all my beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Today, we are resuming our summary of each of the 12 spiritual laws. And as I said in other episodes, there is a lot of overlap with these laws, and you'll notice that again here today. You know what's funny is when I started this series, I was like, you know what, I'll spend a good 5 minutes on each one of these. As I've found out, each one of them is actually taking like 15, 20 minutes. But you know what? It's fine. They are taking the time that they need to take. So let's go over the laws that we've covered so far. We have discussed the law of divine oneness, which states that we are all interconnected. The law of vibration, that states that everything has a specific vibrational energy that attracts similar vibrations. The law of action, that states that action must be taken in order to manifest. And the law of correspondence, which states that everything that happens internally is expressed externally. And today we are jumping into the fifth of the 12 laws, the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect is pretty self-explanatory. For every cause, there's an effect. It's easy as that. Or similar to Newton's third law, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If you move your hand through the air, you're going to cause some molecules to move around and respond. If you turn left instead of right, you will have a very different experience. If you apply for a job, you are giving yourself an opportunity to be considered. Every single thing we do causes an effect. And we're all creating cause through our actions, or through the law of action, which shows up as an effect in our lives. Actions lead to results, and all actions have reactions that will return back to the source. This law is demonstrated beautifully by the butterfly effect in chaos theory. And this is the idea that maybe there's actually a whole movie about this, but this is the idea that if a butterfly flaps its wings, it could drastically change the reality we experience a million years later. So the idea is that the world isn't really chaotic. It's just a series of causes in this hyper-complex system, and that each item or each thing or each action sets off a chain of events that determine the reality we experience. In other words, we live in such a complex system that nothing is pure chance alone. Everything has a cause. So how do we utilize this law to our benefit? There is always a cause and a catalyst for everything, even when it's indirect. And the actions you take now are creating a future effect on your life. So the beautiful thing about this law is that it emphasizes the amount of control we can assume over our lives, the ability to recreate our reality. What you sow, you shall reap. To make significant change in your life, think through what actions you could take to set yourself up for success. What does significant change look like, and what steps can you take to get there? The law of cause and effect requires that we take ownership over our lives, the good, the bad, even the ugly parts of it. And thankfully, we have the power to create more of the good. Who you are is a cause, and the life you have is the effect. Your reality is a reflection of the person you're being, your beliefs. And like the law of correspondence, a lot of people will claim that the law of cause and effect is closely tied to karma, but not in the sense of like good or bad, because like really what is good or bad, but in the sense of who you're being. The causes you initiate impact what you will get in return. If you put out more abundant causes into the world, that is what you will receive. If you are living abundantly, you will get more abundance. And I'm not saying abundantly as in like you're going out and spending a bunch of money. What I'm saying is that you are living the life of someone who is abundant all around, not just money, but who gives a lot of love, who is abundant in their praise, who is abundant in their joy. And this is where we see law of cause and effect and correspondence and compensation all overlap, because who you are internally, based on the law of correspondence, determines the cause, and the effect is your compensation. And we'll dive more into the law of compensation in the next episode, so I won't get into that now. Your expectation shapes your reality, regardless of whether your intentions are quote-unquote good or bad. Because what is good or bad? The universe is totally neutral to these words. In a war, the good guys for one country are always the bad guys in another country, and vice versa. And politicians are good or bad depending on what values you prioritize. These terms are arbitrary. They mean nothing. What matters is the intent behind our actions. It's about how we perceive our own actions and what we think it says about us. If we believe our actions are good, that is what we get. If we believe our actions are bad, that is what we get. That's why seemingly quote-unquote bad people can accumulate wealth. Because they do not perceive themselves as bad more often than not. They just perceive themselves as abundant, lucky, wealthy, smart, good-looking. So that's what they get more of. They put themselves in a position to accumulate that wealth because they believe they have confidence in themselves. The universe is neutral and simply responds to the energy that we're putting out there via our causes. And unfortunately, it's usually easier for people with really strong egos to generate wealth because they genuinely believe they deserve it. And this is why we see a lot of narcissists and sociopaths become successful in business and politics. I'm not saying they all are, but, there's an amount. It's just easier with that sort of mindset to believe that you are worthy of it. They do not doubt what they can do or what they can create for themselves. They expect it. And it can be much harder for the average person to garner the same sense of self-confidence in their own abundance and worthiness. And that's what's translating to success in our lives. So it has nothing to do with fairness, because what is fairness to a universe? It's a response to your cause, your beliefs, the limitations you impose on yourself and your life. This is the cause of the law of cause and effect. And the effect is what you experience as a result of these beliefs. The universe does not mark people as deserving or not deserving, good or bad, successful, not successful. It just responds to how we feel about ourselves. And I still struggle with this. Majority of the topics I bring to this podcast are topics that I am still working on or struggling with myself. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be moving forward. We're all growing together. So to create more success utilizing this law, you need to create a catalyst for success. If you're in sales, that means picking up the phone or opening up your email to reach out to prospects. If you're an aspiring author, that means making time to write. If you're trying to learn a language, it means creating time to work on that. If you're looking for inspiration, it means going out into the world and looking for it. If you want to find your life partner, it means putting yourself in situations where you can meet someone. Create the catalyst for change in your life. Which is why this one is also so closely tied with cause of action, because the action is the cause. So if you want to become a successful business person, ask yourself, how can you incorporate some good habits into your current lifestyle to make you feel more like that successful business person? How can you initiate that change, that catalyst? Can you go to bed earlier? Wake up earlier? Can you form a morning routine to start your day? Can you wake up without hitting snooze? Can you work out your schedule for the day using time blocking? Do you change what you wear to work? Do you change how you conduct yourself at work? Find ways to create positive change in your life, whatever that means to you, so that you can feel deserving of the positive effects. It's about stepping in to the person you want to become so that you believe that you are that person, that you are deserving of being that person. And for a lot of us, we have to make change to our current habits in order to believe that. So the most humbling reality of this law, and probably the hardest part of it to digest for many people, is that your current life is a representation of how you view yourself and the decisions you have made up to this point. Your habits caused your reality. You are in control. You are the catalyst. The thoughts, emotions, behaviors you experience, these are all creating an effect. And your current identity is what you're manifesting. I know I've said it 1,000 times. You're going to hear it 1,000,000 more times. It's not about your physical reality. It's about your identity. Who are you? Because that answer is the cause of your life. And your physical reality is the effect. And you have the ability to choose differently at any moment. Because the laws just are. There is no right, wrong, fair, unfair. You're simply creating. And the life you have is a representation of what you're creating. And at the core of all of these laws is your expectation, your beliefs about yourself. So let's take a moment real quick to talk about trauma. Because when a lot of people hear about the law of cause and effect, their first thought is, well, did I bring trauma on myself? Or are you saying that I experienced, something in my childhood or something in the past because of something that I did, that I caused that? It's a natural question to ask. Did I deserve that past trauma, or did I cause that trauma? My personal belief is that the answer to that is no, and here's why. I believe that there's a micro and a macro system at play in our lives. And the macro system is what is beyond our control, what is destined, what is a part of a more complex shared experience that we cannot change. And that's where I think trauma occurs, is in this macro system. Whereas the micro scale are the things that are directly within our control, that are individualized, that we can change. But just because the macro system is at play within the universe and it can cause things like trauma, I don't think that means that we have zero control. While we can't control the macro system, we can control our response to it. How are you internalizing your past experience? Are you moving past it? What are some things that you've done as a result of that thing? We can still make significant changes within our lives by utilizing the micro scale, by intentionally selecting our thoughts and emotions and behaviors, how we're reacting to that thing. And we can't know why so many people experience traumatic events. But we can control how we allow these experiences to create effects on our lives, and how we allow them to continuously create effects in our lives. So instead of focusing on the traumas, I focus on how this law can change my life as I become more mindful and cognizant of my reactions, and how I'm going about in the world and creating effects. So what can I do today to impact my life in a positive way? Because at the end of the day, there are many grand designs for our lives, and we get to choose the version that best fits our needs. We get to choose our reality, and we can initiate the cause for that life. So an example of this cause could look like signing up for a language class, applying for a management position, buying that ticket to that country, going back to school, changing careers, leaving a toxic relationship, deciding to travel the world. The choice is yours, and the result will match the effort you put in. If you want an entirely different life, make some big changes. You reap what you sow. And positive habits and lifestyles will create the life you want. And the beautiful thing is that the causes you initiate in one area of your life will have an impact, a ripple effect in other areas of your life too. So if you start making positive changes within your career, you might see an effect show up in your relationships or your health or your mind or your spirituality. So that's why I love this law so much, because it has a ripple effect, and it's a very empowering law that gives you back control over your life. It states that life is happening for you, not to you. You are creating your reality. So if the effect isn't what you want, then change it. If you don't believe you have time for anything, that is a circumstance you've created. If you believe you will never find your person, that is the condition you create. If you believe you will always struggle, that is the condition you will create. If you believe that things will always work out, then that is the condition you create. So to change your life, change your mind, change your thoughts. Because the law of cause and effect says that everything you do today will impact tomorrow. So take control of your life and go out there and create the effects you want. You are in control. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will catch y'all next Monday. Until then, go out there and manifest some miracles. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with new episodes. As always, we would love it if you would share this episode with friends and family who could use the inspiration. As a new podcast show, we would really appreciate your honest feedback so I know what you like and what you could use more of. As a thank you for leaving us a rating, we will send you our 7 weekly tips to create space for abundance. Make sure you screenshot your review and email it to us at hello@themodernmanifestation.com so we can send them straight to your inbox. If you'd like to stay connected, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Modern Manifestation, or you can head to our website at themodernmanifestation.com. Thanks again for joining me, and I will catch y'all in the next episode.